welcome back. Our next guest is lighting up the Pregones Puerto Rican Traveling Theater off Broadway stage in New York's newest hip hop musical, Puerto Rican, which follows the story of a young father who philosophizes about his son's likely connection to Puerto Rican identity. Featuring a string of catchy songs, Puerto Rican is a fresh addition to the off Broadway calendar. And joining us to share more is actor and writer of Puerto Rican, Gabriel Diego Hernández. Hello and welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate the kind words.
Yay! Congratulations on your off Broadway premiere.
Hey, appreciate that. Thank you. That feels really good.
I bet. I bet. Well, Gabriel, the title itself, Puerto Rican, which is just 25%.
Yeah.
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 And so I know this is your story, possibly to your son or a love letter to your son, and with the hopes of making sure that they retain a certain aspect of their identity based on the mix that is within your descent and now your marital union, right? I think that was my way of summarizing without giving it all away. I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, so
yeah, no, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
a lot of it. A lot of the origin of the piece was based on like conversations my wife and I were having when our first child, who's going to be 6 in a month or so, but back when he was still in utero, and we were just like, yo, this kid is going to be just a little bit Puerto Rican. Like, is that enough? Are we going to be able to? Am I going to be able to properly sort of imbue an appreciation and understanding of this piece of his heritage? That level of, and like, how much work is it going to take? And do I have the chops as a halfie myself to really like do the job right? You know what I mean? So it was that sort of like
Yeah, yeah.
that back and
And
forth.
so, yeah, it's funny you refer to yourself as a half breed, right? So just to share with our viewers, I know you're half Puerto Rican, half Jewish, and then your wife is what we would, I guess, identify as Anglo, right?
Yeah,
Right?
waspy, full
Waspy.
wasp,
Oh gosh, wasp. We even went there.
Mayflower, Mayflower Pilgrim.
so so why is it so important? And I'm a fellow Boricua that your
Yeah.
son know his roots. Why is this so important to you to make sure that that is and remains a part of his essence?
I mean, I think for me, a lot of it, that connection to ancestors, but not just the ones that are sort of that you have to imagine, but just like his abuelo is around, right? Like my pops is a big part of his life. Um, so it's like I want you to have a connect. It's not going to be the same, right? This kid is growing up mostly white in Jersey City. It's not, but I want him to know his grandfather's island, right? Like that's such an important part of my pops' story, um, and his essence and who he is, right? So it's just like, if you're gonna know abuelo, right, then you gotta own a piece of this, this legacy, and even if it's from a slightly different angle, or it's diluted is a nasty word, but whatever, right? He's mixed even further, right? We've cast the net far and wide. He's got all sorts of bloodlines like circulating throughout and that's cool, right? That's that modern whatever, right? No shame about any of it, but we gotta like
Make
dig
sure that
in
the culture really sticks, right? So that there,
and
I get it, I get it. So, but here's the thing: you chose to create this in with hip hop in the forefront. So that's the urban side of you. So
big time.
that's another mix.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So walk us through what people should expect experiencing Puerto Rican.
So the my hope is that so we're trafficking in a lot of these really personal, emotional questions, little traumas, these memories, childhood stuff. but doing it, with a lot of levity, not to make light necessarily of some of those more difficult questions, but to provide like release valves, So we track the journey of this father, Danny, this dad character, as he stews in all of these identity questions and all his neurotic, all of his anxieties, right? He's in the playground talking to this other parent, but then this other character, MC Platano, who's his sort of like irreverent alter ego. MC Platano is going to peel off and intervene and like interrupt and ask all these questions and kind of clown Danny a little bit. And that's where a lot of the hip hop comes in, is in those moments. Hip hop is one of MC Platano's like primary languages of satire.
Mm-hmm.
And so the show sort of alternates between those two modes of like the realism of the park, and then the kind of gonzo, like satirical, sonic world of like MC Platano's like hip hop jester sort of.
Yeah, I get it. I'm over here wondering that, but why a children's park, right? I mean, which I think is there's something warm about that in being a father in a children's park. So, just out of curiosity, why a children's park?
I think that was where, because at first, an earlier version of the show, back when I was first toying with some of this material, and it wasn't set anywhere, right? It was kind of like almost like a stand-up piece. So it's just like a guy with a mic talking to the audience, But under the mentorship of my director and dramaturg Jorge Merced, as it started to like coalesce a little more and become like, we're like, oh, maybe this is a play. What's a play about this? Coming up with that sense of setting. The park. I was drawn to the park. Especially as a dad who spent a ton of time there, and I've just poured hours of my life into just like playground experiences with my kids.
Those parent
Oh,
exchanges, right?
so much goes down. Yeah, there are
Yeah.
so many of these little like informal educations that happen in playgrounds. Interparent and interkid, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, like I think that's where we sort of decided to imagine the physical life of the piece.
Wow, what a wonderful experience this has been. It must have been for you, coming under Jorge B. Mesed. And I understand that. How long has this been in the making? Let's start there.
We've been incubating this piece for about 5 years.
5 years. Mira,
Yeah, yeah.
wow.
Yeah, it's been really cool. We started out doing like little 10-minute excerpts at a bunch of urban gardens in the Bronx, under Pregones' Stage Garden Rumba series. All of this was through Pregones' Step Up residency. And then we had a little private reading for some of the ensemble members of Pregones. Then we did like a public reading in the Bronx. Then we did a couple of workshop performances at PRTT. This was like May 2019. We were gearing up for another workshop, and then the pandemic sort of moved us to Zoom, and so we were doing some readings in like April, May 2020,
Right,
and then
The Zoom version of theater.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but I
and
heard
then
you just recently had a run at Miles Square Theater, who I also understand partnered up with Pregones PRTT to help this process.
yeah, that was really really cool. Kevin R. Free, who's the artistic director of Mile Square, he and I have been friends for a while, and I was able to connect him and Jorge, and you know I wasn't sure how it was all going to work, because I was like, the business side of things. I was like, hey, I'm gonna let y'all figure it out. And they took to each other, and we wound up with a really cool like kind of co-pro, they call it,
Right.
between the two institutions for the world premiere. And this is sort of, right now we got sort of like the second leg of that. But that was a really beautiful experience being in Hoboken in
Yeah, being
March.
back home, right? You went back home, performed it in your hometown, right?
Right, yeah,
And
yeah,
now
that
you're
was
off
really cool.
Broadway.
Yeah, so that's a really exciting. And PRCT, this is sort of where it all began. So it's coming home in a different way.
Right, full
Um,
circle. You're coming
that
full
piece, that
circle.
piece is coming home now. Yeah.
The piece is
Uh,
coming home.
It
right?
feels really good.
The piece
Um,
allowed you to visit your physical home of upbringing,
that's right.
but now the piece is home is coming back home.
Yeah, yeah.
Ay, pero
And
qué
you know, and
cosa.
Brecones is a home. Yeah, absolutely. Uh, it's a blessing. I feel super grateful.
So I understand that your wife also has plays a role in this production as a co-writer and I believe she's a lyricist.
Yeah, so she and I it's interesting when we were getting ready to do that May workshop, and it was still this show is still very much in its infancy back in 2019 rather. Um, I had the structure of the play was very much in place. We had the park and we had the MC Platano sort of coming in and turning things on their head on its head, and then back to the park, that kind of thing. Um, all of the MC Platanos interventions were like comedy monologues, with one exception. There was like sort of like a joke rap verse at one point, but the rest of it there was no rapping. And Jorge was like, I think MC Platano needs to be rapping. Like I think that's where this character needs to live. That hip hop is like, one of the major like vehicles for this character's uh, uh, like worldview and the way that they pick apart some of what Danny's like going through or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. We got like 2.5 weeks before this workshop. So my wife, this is when I hollered at my wife. And so she and I have been collaborating for years. We met writing songs together. That's how we
Right.
got tight friends in college. Back in
Were,
like
were, were you
2005.
her backup singer? I mean, I don't mean.
Right. I used to accompany her. I play piano. I used to accompany her songs that she wrote. So we had like a long
That
standing.
was my little dig to woman empowerment. That's it. That was my little dig. That was
Uh,
my little indirecta.
yeah, no,
And
big
then you
time though.
ended up
Big.
marrying her. Beautiful. I love
That's
it.
right. That's right. So I was like, Rachel, we need some songs fast. I like, it was like a desperate plea to outsource. So she and I basically took a look at MC Plato's like 7 or 8 at that point, moments, and like carved them up, split them. And so she took a few and I took a few, and then we sort of like scrambled and got the thing on its feet. And from that point on, she was one of the we were like co-writers of the music. Um,
That,
but
what a beautiful thing. Now it's a
yeah,
family affair.
super super lucky to just have like a secret weapon like that just in the crib. You know what I mean?
Well, she
I'm just
ain't a
like, hey,
secret anymore. You just announced it on air.
she's out, she's out.
This is wonderful. Congratulations on your off Broadway run. I understand it's already been running a week by now, and people still have time to see it. If you would like, please share the details so that everyone can go and get their tickets.
Yeah, yeah. Check us out. We're at the Puerto Rican Traveling Theater through May 7th. Tickets are available at the Pregones PRTT website, or through their various social media channels. But yeah, come through. It's a fun show. I think you'll enjoy it.
Bravo. Woo! Once again, everyone, Gabriel Diego Hernandez, actor and writer of Puerto Rican. Puerto Rican, once again, is running through May 7th at Pregones Puerto Rican Traveling Theater, which is located at 304 West 47th Street in Manhattan. If you're interested in information and tickets, please visit pregonesprtt.org.